Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey, welcome to the show here today with my fantastic co-host, Carol. Hey, Carol.
Hello.
And we've got our guest, Amy Anfinson, who is an international positive change coach and executive success partner who uses her intuitive abilities and years of personal experience to help those she works with neutralize pain from the past, gain deeper understanding of their thoughts and emotions, and increase their self-worth so they have the confidence to go after their wildest dreams as long as they're not too wild. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Amy. We were just getting to know each other a little bit before the show started, and I was shocked to find out that you don't know how old your stepkids are.
Well, when they don't live with you and they're already out of the house, you just kind of lose age after about 20 something, don't you think?
Oh, I know, absolutely.
I think we all do that.
When you were describing it, I was like, you're like an 8 and 10-year-old in your house. You don't know how old they are.
Well, even my own kids, I forget their age. So it's okay. I mean, I have to kind of process it in my head and go, what year were they born again? Oh my God, they're really that old now?
And then you gotta do math.
Yeah. So when they don't live with you, I mean, you don't really think about it.
Yeah.
Just give them the same card every year and you just cross off one of the numbers. Happy next birthday. I don't know.
Well, I think we're so busy in our lives now too, little things like age don't really matter. I mean, if you love somebody and you contact them all the time, I talk to my son probably 2 or 3 times a week. So it's not like I'm thinking about his age. I'm thinking more about, spending time with him.
Man, that's a great way to deflect the you don't know how old your kids are question. I think what really matters is that I love them and it's special. You're probably not wrong, but this isn't about you, Carol. This is about Amy, and I want to know what makes Amy a Titan.
I believe it is my ability to listen, trust, and act on my own inner guidance beyond other people's opinions.
Ooh, act outside of other people's opinions. I don't know who's listening right now that needs to know that most of the opinions in their life are just not opinions about you, but opinions about the other person telling you what really that they can't do within their own lives.
That was deep.
True.
That was deep, Travis.
Super
very,
deep.
very true.
Very true, though.
Who doesn't like going deep with casual strangers immediately after meeting them?
I like it a lot. So let's go there.
So can you give us an example, how you do that? I mean, obviously you deal with clients, and you almost have to take the time to kind of unravel what insecurities and issues and blockages they have in order to create an avenue and a path for them to succeed. So do you have an example, maybe of a client that you could share?
I do have this gentleman who I work with his sister. She's an entrepreneur, does really well, one of the most generous, amazing souls. And her brother went through a really hard time. He had been struggling with some alcoholism, hard things in life, trying just to deal with all the emotions. And she asked if I could help him. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So she started paying for his services. But what he was overcoming was the opinions of other people because he had to go into the hospital And he came home and he calls it, 2 days in the loony bin being diagnosed. And nothing really resonated. But when we started working together, not only that, he had done really well before and then had lost everything, going through bankruptcy. I mean, it was a lot. And he's great, great person. So my work with him was to help him see himself for who he really is and beyond what he just went through. And you have to let go. And he has a family of 8. It's a religious family. So, lots of people in your business. And so we just worked on really helping him focus on himself and where he was going. I didn't care about where he was at, what he went through. We literally never spoke about alcohol. And 4 months in, he told me that he has been sober for 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And now we're at 2 years. And he also got a new job, was number 1 in sales for 6 months straight, got another promotion, working on making it into the 6 figures again. And I told him, I said, even though you're going through a bankruptcy, I mean, there's so much judgment of self, of other people. And I said, you can feel good about yourself going through this bankruptcy. And he didn't really believe me in the beginning, but he literally has, and he's overcome. He's making the payments. He's got visions. He's moving forward. And he said, I have considered, like in the past, like, why am I even here? And such heavy thoughts. And he said, I am 100% depression free now. And he is living this peaceful life that he's never experienced before.
And you were the catalyst, the tool, because I think for the first time in his life, somebody saw him, somebody heard him. And it's really, as human beings, what we need. I mean, so many of us are trying to just, fit in. And the problem is, what if we don't fit in? Right? So does that make us what? Why did you make that face?
I don't want to fit in. I want to be accepted into a group, but I want to be celebrated for who I am as an individual. I don't know if that makes it me fit in or not, but like, I don't know what your definition of fit in is, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, ugh, God, that churns my stomach.
Yeah, because think about it. When you're in grade school, you're taught to fit in. I mean, it's kind of conditioned into us. So when we don't fit in, we feel odd. But there is a beauty behind being unique. And I think if you're authentic, and yeah, you may be a little bit of an oddball, if you can embrace that, it's so powerful.
I definitely love being a goofy person. That's one of my many benefits of being me, is that I'm a goofball and I'm okay with it. And there's far too many times where people are like, oh, be professional. What does that mean? Does that mean I have to walk around with a stick up my butt saying yes or no, sir? And like being, I don't know, office polite? Like, it just seems like I would be unmemorable. It's interesting that you brought up, Amy, that you brought up the alcoholism. It's people don't ask, they ask about the addiction, but they don't ask about the pain that caused that, and whatever choice of whatever you use to self-soothe. Like they found that with Robert Downey Jr., he was doing all the crazy drugs in the 80s and 90s, and it turns out he was self-medicating. And I think almost any addiction is a result of some kind of self-medication, whether it's less publicly accepted like heroin, or more publicly accepted like I don't know, eating or going to the gym. Those are a little bit more publicly acceptable than doing hard drugs. But what do people not, they talk about the addiction, but they never talk about the pain that they're trying to cover up.
Well, and I think that's why he's had such success, was because we dealt with what was going on. He had a safe place to talk about the hardships, the challenges, the noise in his head. When you have a place where someone's like listening with no judgment and continuing to see your brilliance and guiding you to where you want to go next, Where do you want to go next? Like, we can't get there overnight, but we can do it one day at a time. And when you have the right people in your corner, you can achieve anything. It's a matter of, you just keep showing up for yourself and dealing with what's going on in your head. Because I think that's the biggest thing is like, we're with ourselves 24/7 and we're not taught, how do we talk to ourselves? What do we say to ourselves when we've hit the bottom, or disappointments or heartaches or grief? I mean, life is always going to be bringing us things, but we're not taught how to talk to ourselves. And we're also not taught to understand our emotions. And when you can understand your emotion, you can then begin to look at, oh, what was I just thinking? Because all of our emotions are coming from our thoughts and our perspective of ourself and life. And, none of that was taught in school or church. It was only when I actually hired my own coach that I began to learn about emotions and about our own needs and how do we meet our own needs and how do we not blame other people for how we feel? How do we take responsibility for our life? So it's important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know I heard somewhere that if you wanted to change your actions, you're not happy with your actions, you got to change your thoughts. If you're not happy with your thoughts, you got to change your feelings. And if you're not happy with your feelings, you got to change your beliefs. Because one goes into the other, goes into the other, goes into the other: beliefs, feelings, thoughts, and actions. And it sounds like you've done a lot of work in this area. So my question to you is, what do we need to understand about your earlier life in order to understand who you are now?
Well, my earlier life, I'll go way back in a brief little synopsis. I grew up in a very small town. So
what does very small mean?
Like, my graduating class was 32 people.
Oh, that's huge.
Right?
That was 15. Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, you beat me.
That's why I asked, what does very small mean?
It's all relative.
It is. But there wasn't much to do there. So we lived on a ranch, and so I rode horses and did some shodeos when I was younger. Then I got into sports, played basketball, played college basketball, and that
God,
kind of.
how tall are you, Amy?
Oh, I'm not that tall. I'm 5'7". I was like a small forward. So
okay.
I
was like, are you
everyone
like
thinks I look taller. I think it's my long legs or something, but I'm not really as tall as people think I am.
It's a good thing.
Yes. So, the fitting in when I was in this small town, that was a hard thing because I felt like I stood out. My parents were bankers, and so I was like the banker's daughter, and there was just all kinds of people. People are kids, not nice, and there was just all kinds of I don't know. There was the growing up was not the easiest in the small town. I'm just going to say that there was things
that doesn't make for a good story. That doesn't make for.
I know. I am.
What does it mean that it wasn't easy growing up in a small town?
Oh my gosh! I shouldn't have started so far back.
In the alley behind the bank. Like, what happened?
Oh goodness. Yeah.
Well, what kind of judgments were they placing on you? Like, being from a small town, was it because you were the banker's daughter and they believed you had this charmed life or something?
I do, or at least that was my perception. And so I felt like there was a lot of being made fun of, and then also being a good basketball player. I was the first person on the freshman team to ever make it to the high school team. And so my freshman friends didn't like me, and then my high school girls didn't like a freshman on the high school team. So there was I felt very much kind of like didn't really
out.
Yes. Yeah. And I wish I had known those things back then of how to not care so much about what other people think, and be your authentic self. But, it was where I was at.
Yeah. Well, age kind of helps us, when you're young, you're just trying to, fit in and get along with everybody.
I don't know if age helps if you haven't actually gone through the work to understand. Like, I was out in my front yard hanging up lights with my son, the other night, and the neighbor was like, I had sunglasses on even though it was overcast. He's like, "What's up, Hollywood?" I got my glasses on, and then he said he made like two more comments about my glasses, and I'm like, man, I'm really glad that his opinion has no effect on me. I feel like it was a 5-year-old observation. You're wearing sunglasses. Well, whoop-de-doo, man. Just congrats on your powers of observation. But, until I had done the work, weird comments or odd comments like that, I would have taken them to heart and it would have hurt me for a couple of days. So I don't think it's age, but I think you have to make a concerted effort to actually do the work. And I have a great quote from a friend of mine. I can't remember which friend, and I'm not sure I got the quote right, but he said, "Why the hell do you care what your neighbors think? They've not had an original thought their entire life." His comment about my sunglasses, he walked in his house, and I'm sure he immediately left his head, and he's never thought about it before or after. It had no real thought. It had no real meaning behind it. So if he's not going to hold on to it, why on earth should I?
Why should you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a great point, because I feel like in my 15 years of coaching, it has all been about how quickly can you let go of something?
Yeah.
How quickly can you let go of the heavy stuff that you carry around, or the thoughts that you think people are thinking of you? How quickly can you let that go and move on? And it's interesting because our mind kind of takes hold of things, and it's I don't know, it's like creating new neural pathways where you're opening yourself up to see yourself differently, see the world differently, and even to see other people differently. How quickly can you forgive and move on? And one of the things that was really helpful for me, I also grew up, well, in my younger years when my kids were younger, I got involved in the church, and I ended up creating a Sunday school class called Lives of Purpose, because it's what I wanted in my life at the time. And I had my marriage at the time, and was married to someone else, was like a roller coaster, like full on high, low, lows. And it just felt really hard. And then with 2 young kids, and my son, he's amazing. Talk about not caring what anyone thinks and having a wonderful wit about him. He's taught me a lot, but he was diagnosed with like almost like an Asperger's, like on the spectrums, just ever so slightly. But I was always wanting to help him like learn how to be social and learn how to interact and how to get along with people. And so there was just so much challenge that was going on in my previous marriage that I just found it to be really hard to make my marriage work and be a mother and, do the other things in my career that I wanted to do. So I created a Sunday school class because I thought parents of young kids could use some support. I know I did. And that led me on a path
So it
of
was
a
a
more,
young parent Sunday school class?
yes. Yeah. For couples,
Gotcha.
for couples. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
for
Okay.
Yeah,
couples.
Sunday school class to me means
I
you're
think
teaching
kids.
6-year-olds.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was for couples, young adults. And so I was led down that path, but I will say I had panic attacks, I had anxiety, I was taking medication for depression, anxiety, ADD. Like I was kind of a basket case at the time. And yet I was wanting to find inner peace. So that was really what my focus was. I want peace in my life. And by that point in our marriage, we had a very financially well-off lifestyle. But I had chosen to leave my career I was in banking and mortgage lending, and I chose to stay at home. And I felt very trapped because I had no say in the finances
Mhm.
and didn't feel like I had a say in much of anything. And so I'd really lost myself in that relationship. And teaching that Sunday school class is when I started feeling my self-worth again. And I started feeling like there was something beyond me that loves me and supports me. And I started listening to my own, what I would call inner guidance that I had tuned out for the sake of, doing what my parents wanted to do. I got into baking like they did, and we become like a people pleaser, which is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was teaching the Sunday school class, I literally went through a divorce. And my son, being like 9, saying, "Mom, you're teaching couples about relationships and you're going through divorce. Like, why would they listen to you?" And I was like, "Well, honey, I hadn't even considered that. That's just what I'm supposed to be doing."
Yeah, it's
And
amazing how much that your story aligns with so many other stories, especially being a young parent, a young married person. There is just so much shit going on. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
take care of your job and all the demands that that takes. It could be learning and certifications and moving based on your job. Like I was in the Navy for 22 years. Like that's part of it. Then you got to somehow go home, try to have a relationship. And if you had kids early in your relationship, you don't even know how to be in a relationship anymore. You can hardly be a parent because you're not healed as a person. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and everything is demanding everything from you. And then you left your job, you don't feel like you have a voice, you don't feel like you have a say, doesn't feel like you have. And then on top of all that, you don't even know who the hell you are. Now, I know from talking to people, hundreds and hundreds of women who are in the same spot as you, but I also know that there are so many men that feel the same way, regardless of the income that's actually coming in. They feel the exact same way. They feel trapped. They don't know who they are. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know who to talk to. And we often close down our personal circles and our friendships, our really lifelong relationships, and we stop talking to people. Is that how you
Mhm.
feel like you were?
Well, fortunately, I started talking to people, and I started a women's group. I started the Sunday school class, so I had people. If I hadn't, I would hate to see where I would be at that point, because you're exactly right. It's about reaching out and not trying to hold in and suppress all that you have going on, but finding outlets of understanding of, like, how can I help myself? It's not like, you know we can feel sorry for ourselves and shrink, or we can ask for help and expand. And I think learning to ask for help is super important. And I had such strong emotions, and I felt things on such a deep level. I just wanted other people to know that they're not alone going through what they're going through. And so that was therapeutic for me, to be able to do that. But a lot of people do become very isolated, and they don't ask for help, and they don't know where to go to even ask for help. So
Well,
I
that's
think,
where stories like yours will help other women, because I know for myself too, I went through those same things. And you have these inner thoughts, like this thought kept coming to me all the time. This is not the only reason you were put here. You have a journey, you have a path, you have a purpose. You got to find it. And so many women get, married, have children, and their husbands say, "Hey, I make enough for both of us, so I don't want you to work." And so we give up our jobs, but then, just like you said, we don't get to be part of the decision-making process. So we start to get lost because we don't have job skills anymore. We're a parent. We have a child, which, by the way, I have a child too, that was diagnosed with actually high functioning Asperger's. And that was so difficult. And it was so difficult on our marriage. And my girlfriend actually called, my first marriage, my starter marriage. Like, this is where you figure shit out. you know? And it was hard. And it
Mhm.
was so hard raising a child that was a challenge, that you were, first of all, raising a child is a challenge, period. But raising a child that has issues, and you're trying to, you're learning about it as you're trying to help them. And you just feel like you're behind the 8 ball all the time. And can you really help your child and keep your marriage alive when you're trying to struggle with both and you've never done it before, and you're literally, this is the first time you're tackling everything. So it's hard. So it's kudos for bringing it up, because I know it's not a story that, is unique in terms of the circumstances. It's unique that you went through the certain issues that you did, but it helps women realize you're not alone. We
I
go
need you to
through
stop
this shit.
saying women, because men feel the exact same way. And
Well,
they go
I'm
through
just
the
saying
exact
it
same thing. They
true,
really do.
but
They
I'm
just don't
also
talk about
saying
as
it from
much.
the aspect, but I'm saying it from the aspect of when we give up our jobs too, we lose
There's
ourselves.
guys that do that too, much
Really?
less on scale. Oh yeah. I
All
know a lot
right.
of people in the military that are women in the military. They have a house spouse. They have a dude at home that doesn't
Oh,
work. Oh yeah. No, it's way
right.
more prevalent. Again, most guys don't talk about it because it's
yeah, clearly.
there's
Yeah.
shame to that discussion. So
Yeah,
they don't mention it.
I love that you brought up this affects men as well, because I literally have been on all sides. So, and my husband, he has helped me in my business for the past few years, and he's been a coach, but my business really took off. And so he was helping me in my business after he worked a little bit in between as well. So I have felt the pressure of providing for the family. And I was like, wow, I had, when I was that stay-at-home mom, did it give me perspective on appreciating the work that your spouse does to provide for the family? And there's not normally appreciations that are expressed. Like I've been on both sides. And so I completely agree that it is men and women both. And I have many friends that their wives are like the breadwinners and their husbands stay at home. And so it's not gender, it's the reality of how difficult being a parent is, and making a marriage work, and learning to communicate, learning to deal with yourself, all of your past triggers, and be your most authentic self, and come from a place of compassion and, I'm going to say, grace with yourself and your loved ones. So including your kids.
Agreed.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of that, a lot of grace, a lot of forgiveness for yourself. It's so easy, animals when they do something, it happens to them, and they remember the memory, like they remember the lesson, but like there's no guilt or shame, or they don't relive. People, when we mess up, man, do we relive that stuff over and over and over and
We hold on
over
to
and
it for
over.
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
getting tired of seeing myself and my own memories. I'm like, shit, can I get something else going on right now? Like, this is what we're doing again today? Oh my goodness.
Well,
Why don't you bitch slap yourself as a reminder, like, hey, that hurts. I don't want to do that again.
I can't do it on camera. I can't have evidence. No evidence.
Oh.
So, Amy, I want to know something about you that most people don't know about you.
Oh goodness. I have never liked that question. That's something you can know about me. I've never liked that
Is
question.
that because you're boring in private?
Maybe it is.
I don't know. Have you been? Did you travel any crazy place that you never told anyone? Did you do something in your 20s? Did you have your own Rumspringen and go nuts? Did you? I don't know. Go skydiving in the Maldives? I couldn't tell you.
Okay, so something really cool that happened to us. We went on a cruise, and
what cruise? Alaska cruise, Norwegian cruise, world cruise, Caribbean
we
cruise?
went to the Panama Canal cruise.
Okay.
It was
Did you go through?
It was.
Did you go from like Miami to San Francisco and you had to go through the Panama Canal?
I'm not sure. I just showed up. And rode the ship. So
This was recent?
No. This was years ago. But it was Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you know who they are, but it was their first cruise that we went on. And each port we would do an excursion. And the very last port that we were stopping at, I hadn't scheduled an excursion. And I woke up in like 3 a.m. with the word exhilaration, exhilaration. I need more exhilaration. And I mean, the cruise has been amazing. I mean, I rode horses in the ocean and swam with the dolphins. Like, it had been a fun cruise, but I woke up with exhilaration. I need more. And so during the cruise at ship, so Abraham Hicks is a channel that I don't know if that's the correct words, but they're like infinite intelligence that speaks the most amazing, loving messages. And so during the cruise, we would go and listen to 3 or 4 hours, and there's hot seats. So you get into the hot seat and you get to speak directly to them, ask the question. And I really wanted to talk to them. I didn't have a clear question, but I really wanted to talk to them. And so when I woke up with the word exhilaration, John and I, my husband, we never really liked heights. So never considered any excursions that had any type of heights in it. But I ran into someone at the library, and they were talking about their daughter going on a zip line and how amazing it was. And I was like, well, that would be exhilarating, but that is nothing I have even crossed my mind ever. So then we went to the breakfast table, and I'm looking through the excursions, and there's the word exhilaration. And it is next to zip line. And I said to my husband, I said, I follow signs. When I get 3 of them, I like to take action. So I was awakened. The person talked about zip line, and here it is again. I think we need to go ziplining. I think this is me breaking through my fears. I'm going to open up. Let's do this. And bless his heart, he is the most cooperative human being ever to me. And he goes along with all of my crazy ideas. So we go to the front of the boat, we sign up, and we had 2 options. One was the adrenaline. It was across the Costa Rica rainforest, way up. And then there was like a smaller zipline tour. I'm like, let's do the smaller. I just start small.
We're not going to go full-fledged.
No. Well, we literally had 20 minutes to get up to our room and out the door. And so we grabbed our stuff, and they put us on a bus, and away we go. An hour into the drive, someone gets on the announced on the microphone, who's here for the small zip line tour? And John and I raised our hands. We thought everyone would, and no one else did. We had gotten on the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody's like, yeah, just go with the flow, go with the flow. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And I thought, dang, this is exhilarating. I'm going to do this. And I was shaky. So, but there was fear, but there was more excitement than fear. And that's always a good place to be. So anyway, we literally went on these shorter tours, and we were like above the tree lines. And then all of a sudden they disappeared, and I looked down. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are way up here. And it was so amazing. Like I was shaking like crazy, but it was just so exhilarating. And my husband, his knees were knocking, but bless his heart, he went through it as well and had a good time. And then we had a drive to the adrenaline. That wasn't even it. We had to climb this huge platform. And when we get to the top, there is this toucan just squawking at us, which was amazing. And I literally could not see the landing strip. Like, it was across the rainforest. And so we went on that. And back in the day, I had the little camera on my wrist, and I'm like, yay, and just having the best time ever. So yes, that had never even crossed my mind, never wanted to, never considered it. But when you get the signs and you get the messages, and so we did that. But then the other part of that is the last day of the cruise, someone talks about the zip line experience in the conference. And they were talking about how a tree had fell on the line and they were on the small one that I was supposed to be on.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Ah,
And my heart sunk, and I had so much compassion for this person. And at the same time, I wanted to feel good about my experience. And I had all kinds of mixed energy. But when she got done talking, and she was okay, she said a little tequila and ibuprofen. And that was what the
isn't that
Tequila
the
heals
cure for
everything.
Let's be honest.
the teacher that was speaking was helping her to see that she survived, that she, didn't have any damage, and to look how resilient her body is. And then she also
Yes.
said, something about, do you always clear the path for others? Because she had been talking to this little girl, trying to keep her not to be afraid. And then she had that accident. So we were just, trying to sort out, why did that happen in there? But when she got off, I rose my hand to talk about my zipline experience. And of course, I lit up like a Christmas tree and got called up on stage. And I had a hard time talking about how amazing my experience was,
Is it
because I
of
felt
her experience.
Guilt?
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yes. It took me years to unravel why that was an experience for me, that I couldn't share how good it was.
Yeah.
See, I don't feel that way. And maybe it's just because I'm a jerk. I don't know. But my wife and I
Or
ended
maybe
up going on a
you're
cruise.
free.
Maybe I'm free. Yeah, I'm not a jerk. See, Carol, Amy says I'm
You're
free.
you're free. You are
No, he's
free.
a jerk.
So my wife and I go on a
But he's
cruise.
a lovable jerk, so
He's a
we
lovable
forgive
jerk.
him.
Lovable jerk. That's gonna be my tagline. Travis Johnson, the lovable jerk. We ended up in Belize, and my wife was super angry with me because she's like, "Why did you guys sign up for this cruise with all these excursions without me?" And she said that because she was sober when she was recovering from surgery a couple of weeks prior. She was the person that decided, and she's the one that entered it into the computer, but she didn't remember, which I think is
Oh,
hilarious. I was like, "Babe, you're the one that suggested it. You're the one that you put the credit card in." She's like, "You guys planning a cruise without me, baby? You did it. You did all of it." But we went in this. Belize had this cave tubing, and you get on an inner tube and you go through the cave, and it's pretty cool. And then you go swimming, and then there's a zip line. And it's the only way down the mountain, and it's like 7 different segments. It's not very long. It's not like going over the jungle canopy, but I scream like Tarzan, like, "Oh!" She's behind me, and she is absolutely terrified. They wouldn't let her like climb down and walk down. She is like hands clenched, eyes closed, tears streaming and screaming the whole way. I had to catch her at the bottom because I'm like, pick your feet up, and she's just in a ball the whole way. She was a huge trooper. But I definitely like the signs that you talked about. We were in Hawaii. We went on a honeymoon at 15 years in because that's when we could finally afford it. Went out to Hawaii and we planned like snorkeling and hiking and all this stuff. And one day we wanted to go do a was it swimming with the sharks in the shark cage? Right? We were all excited.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that she really wanted to do. And we got a call and they said that their motor was messed up and it was going to be some kind of delay. And I don't like delays, so I'm just like, oh, let's go do something else. And she's like, but I want to, like, what if they're done in 20 minutes? I was like, you know what? I don't want to wait. I want to just go. And we found another waterfall we could hike to in Oahu. And then that night on the news, there was this breaking news flash talking about how a shark had got into one of the cages. And we were not there. We skipped over that day. I was like,
Thank
you know what? I
God.
won't even mess with this. And then that night we saw no kidding, shark got into the shark cage and beat
Yeah.
the living hell out of the guy that was in there. He survived. He didn't get bitten or eaten, but like there's a big moving object, you're gonna get knocked around.
Yeah.
And
Well, and when you're talking about these things, like the fear that overwhelms you, if people can just realize that you can survive anything, the fear is what's paralyzing us. if we can survive it and know we can survive it, actually, not if we can survive it, we will for sure survive it. And if anything, we'll gain valuable lessons from it. And that's what so many people don't realize. I mean, you're going to face challenges. And if you look at it from a different perspective and you just go, all right, what's the lesson here? Right? If you look at it from that perspective, then there's not this, oh my God, I can't do it, and that downward spiral that can, happen because you're so afraid that you no longer can function. So embrace it and go, what the hell? Let's do it. I know I'm going to survive. And yeah, there's going to be signs. If there are signs, like both of you guys had signs, then you listen to them and you go, all right, well, clearly we're not doing that today. Right.
I tell you what, if someone says something and I'm like, whatever, and then they say it again, I'm like, obviously they're like, oh, you need a jacket tonight? I'm like, no, I don't need no stinking jacket tonight. And then some time will pass, like, hey, you gonna take a jacket? I was like, you know what? I will. And I'll take it regardless if I know that I need it or not. And I almost always inevitably end up using whatever the thing was. Almost always. Like, I didn't consider it. It's not my thing. And the universe is like, hey, man, how about you just take the thing?
Tap, tap, tap.
The thing.
Right on the head.
And you're like, whatever. It's fine. And then downpour, cats and dogs, this rain's going crazy. And you're like, oh, I guess I'll put on this jacket that I took along for no reason. Put the jacket on, go out in life. Does that happen to you, Carol? Do you get stuff like that?
No, not really. Like,
Yeah,
I have feelings, so like, I'll feel like, oh, hey, and my mom was superstitious, like crazy. So there are signs everywhere when it's going to rain. And so I know it's part of my culture. So I listen to them, but like, she used to tell me all the time.
Well, that's not why I'm laughing. There's a Steve Carell quote from The Office, and I don't watch The Office, but I saw this quote. He's like, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Oh my God. Is that why you're laughing? Dude, you have this inner dialogue sometimes, and we're just not on board. Okay. We didn't hear what you heard.
You were like, I am super stitious. And I was like, oh my God. Totally went down that rabbit hole in my own head.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thanks, hon. Anyways,
with your story. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, no. So I see things, and then, like, for instance, this was my mom's thing. If we saw birds on lines, it was going to rain. So I know it's so weird. It is so out there, but every time I see birds on lines, and I'm like, oh, I'm going out tonight, I'm grabbing an umbrella.
Like, we live not too far from like a we call it Mount Trashmore. It's like the dump. And so there's birds on lines every day. I used to have to drive there going to work and back. Like, so that wouldn't work for me because it would be raining every day.
Every day. Yeah. But that's a different instance. I mean, you have a area that they're hanging around because there's probably food, right? So I'm talking about, like, in instances in natural environments, right?
Oh, because power lines are natural environments?
No, oh my God, dude, you are like, I am going to ding you in the head in a second.
I'm just trying to understand exactly what you're trying to say, Carol.
Yeah. Never mind. Anyways, yeah. So if I get feelings, I kind of go with my feelings.
So on Carol's behalf, she probably wouldn't notice a bird unless it had some type of meaning. So you wouldn't even look, you wouldn't even see it. There could be a ton of birds on the line, but she wouldn't have looked up because her guidance didn't guide her to look.
Oh,
good point.
Now that's interesting. Way more interesting than stuff Carol was saying.
Dude, if I was sitting next to you.
There's a reason we do this virtually, folks. It's mostly for my personal safety.
That's the reason why we do it virtually, because I'd probably be punching you all the time.
I still got bruises from last time we were together. That's not good. I'm okay with that. No means no, Carol.
Oh Lord, here we go.
This has evolved
Uh,
quickly, as you
Yeah.
can tell. But that's
Yeah.
okay because that's part of the show and it's about living in the moment and being authentic. And sometimes I'm a lovable jerk, and that's just how it goes.
That'll be your call sign. We should do a call sign for Amy. What do you think her call sign would be?
Ooh, call sign for Amy. So for those that don't know, and I'm obviously deflecting because I don't have a call sign in mind, we have call signs on the show. Carol's is Pug, Pug, because she pees under giraffes on a regular basis, not just
I
once.
do not. I peed under a giraffe once and they called me Pug.
You do it one time, and what do
It
they
just
call
takes
you?
one time
It only takes one
to
time
get
to
the
get a
name.
nickname. Yeah, get a call sign. My call sign from the Navy is Taco John. What does it Amy's call sign be? Jane of the Jungle on the zip
I
line.
love it because it's kind of like the zip line thing. It shows her bravery.
Her bravery.
Because she didn't want to do it, but yet, even though it went from the small line to the big line, she still did it. And that takes bravery and courage.
And a husband that doesn't ask too many questions.
Yes.
We have that too.
He likes all the shenanigans I get him into. So
I
he
am a
says
huge
whole moment with me. That's his life.
I'm a
I
huge
love
fan of
it.
shenanigans. Yeah. So what do you guys do on a weekly basis in Springfield, Missouri that gets you excited, like really lights you up?
Oh, what gets me excited? I love to go out. We have some friends. Matter of fact, we went out this last weekend. There was a rooftop that had igloos, and so we rented those. Though it
Hang
was
on. Hold on. I got to stop you there. Igloos.
Mhm.
Like
yeah,
Like ice, blocks of
ice
ice.
igloos?
no, they're like a plastic dome igloo that is at this restaurant on the rooftop, and they have little heaters in there for the winter time and a little table, and you can rent them and just hang out in the igloos with your friends.
So like a cabana, but on a rooftop.
Yes.
Plastic you're a bubble boy on a rooftop.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Like a bubble
Travis.
boy.
I'm
Yes.
trying to make sure that I understand what's going on here. And sometimes I use words.
You've
weird
given a
Wait,
good
okay, but they have heaters in there. Are they trying to kill you while you're inside the igloo?
Yes. You have
Well,
to be
they're
able to
just
get out in time. It's like an escape room.
there's little doors with zippers that you can't escape.
Carbon monoxide poisoning, have no idea what that is.
Eh, I
Oh,
love it.
So
well,
anyways, go ahead. Sorry, we
yeah, it was a
interrupted your
dreary,
story.
it was a dreary Saturday. So we opted to not hang out in the igloo because we liked the side better. And then we went to dinner, and then we went to a little brewery that had a little one-man band playing, and we played some type of game that they had out. So, nothing too crazy and wild, but
Mostly
it's
spending
nice.
time with your friends and relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've when you have some good friends that always like to bring the energy, they're both really great people. And we actually went to Sedona this year. We all went on a vacation, first time together, and that was a lot of fun.
That's a really spiritual place.
It is extremely spiritual.
Hold on. Is that place in Springfield? Is that Vantage Rooftop Lounge and Conservatory?
Yes, it is, Travis.
He Googled it. I was watching him Google it.
Are you telepathic or are you on your computer?
I'm on my computer, but I just wanted to confirm that's the place that I'm definitely going to avoid if I go through Springfield. But I want to hear more about Sedona, because Sedona is on my list of places that I have yet to visit, even though I've been to all 50 states.
Oh, if you haven't been there, I do recommend. I will say there's a lot more people that know about it, so it's a little busier than when I've gone a few times, but had the most amazing experience. Like, it just rocked my world the first time I went. And
Be fine.
so I went for a retreat. And my husband, it was my first Christmas that my kids were with their dad and not with me. And so he got me this retreat. I was going to go on my first voyage on my own because obviously I don't know geographically very well. I just let who's ever guiding.
So you're kind of challenged when
Yes.
it comes to getting places.
Yes. And I've always had a great guide. So I decided to go on a voyage on my own. And I flew into Phoenix, and back in the day, there was like this GPS, and my husband said, make sure you remember to calibrate it. And I didn't calibrate it. So I drove the opposite side of the mountain. And so when I found out,
Sure.
it was a 4-hour drive versus a 2-hour drive, I'm like, all right, how can I make this fun? I am going to make this fun. And I end up stopping at a national park and had a beautiful time. So, you just make the best of your mistakes.
Yeah,
I love the way you
exactly.
said
That's
that
funny.
you stopped at a national park instead of saying like you ran out of gas. Like, I love the way you put a spin on that.
Well, I went to the gas station and got a paper map because I didn't trust my GPS after that.
You're kicking it old school now.
Very wise. Very wise. I'm proud of
Yeah.
you.
But anyway, I did make it to Sedona, and I was by myself, and I went to this retreat, and it was called the Sedona method. It was all about releasing, and I just wasn't feeling it. And when I woke up the next morning, I looked at the Red Rock Mountains, and they were just like majestic. And I'm like, I don't want to be inside. And so after just a day of the retreat, I released the need to be there. And I literally just explored when I was in Sedona and had the most amazing time. And I went to the grocery store and I got all these little pamphlets and I brought them back to my hotel room, and I just felt which one was the one for me. And I scheduled an angel channeling with this person.
Oh,
What is an angel channeling, and is it on cable?
stop it.
It's not on cable.
Dude.
Well, and I didn't know at the time, but I was very much into angels back in the day. It was like 2007, 2008. And so it was this person who learned how to kind of transcend their ego and tune into your soul. They just needed your birth date. And they literally spoke. I know this might sound weird, but here we go.
That's why we're asking.
The weirder, the better.
It wasn't weird.
Here I thought I was boring. I guess maybe I'm not.
That's what we're talking about. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty.
So she literally puts herself to the side and she lets this loving energy. They were named one, and they would come through and they would read your soul. And it was, I have to back up just a little bit. I had such huge changes happening in my life while I was in Sedona that I called my husband and I said, I have changed, and you may want to get on a flight and join me so we can be on the same page. So I literally had him fly to Sedona on New Year's Day. And then on my birthday, which is January 2nd, I said, hey, you want to go do an angel channeling with me? He's like, okay, whatever that is.
See, I have a hard time. Like she's like, babe, can you run the grocery store? I'm like, oh. Hey, babe, can you fly across country so you can see the new me?
I'm telling you, he's the most
awesome
message right now.
He's amazing. He is, and I'm also going to say he's been amazing for my kids, my son. Like him and my son were the reason we even got together, which is a whole nother story. But anyway, Sedona angel channeling. So he comes and we do angel channeling together. And the story of how my husband and I got together is an interesting one as well. And it came together very fast. I got 3 signs, and one of them was my son had a dream. And so we came together fast. The world around us had a hard time accepting it. My pastor told me I was following Satan.
Oh, God.
I had to really learn how to listen to my guidance. So we came together, and within a few weeks, I was like, I feel like I've known you like my whole life. I've never felt more comfortable. We finished each other's sentences, like we just get one another. And in the angel channeling, she told us that we had been together many, many lifetimes. And it is the first time I had even pondered or considered reincarnation.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because that's part of my culture. And I strongly believe in reincarnation. And
Me too.
there are people out there that don't believe in it. But when I met my boyfriend, talk about being very new in a relationship. And I said, I've known you many lifetimes. And he thought, thank God he didn't run. Right. And now
If he
I'm
would've
with
ran,
him
you wouldn't
and we
known
have
him
the
for many
best
lifetimes,
relationship.
right?
What's that?
If he had run, then it wouldn't have been true. You wouldn't have known him for many lifetimes
True. But
because
you
he
know
wouldn't
what
have
was
recognized you.
true? I don't know if he recognized me, so to speak, but I think he understood because he didn't believe in reincarnation before me, and we've talked a lot about it. But there is something about two souls that find each other again that it's so strong. Like the draw is so strong, and he gets me and the first time I ever saw him as a, in a romantic manner, because COVID kept us apart. And that's when we kind of nurtured our relationship. But the first time I saw him, I have insomnia. I've always had insomnia. And in his arms, I slept all night. I slept 10 hours. And when you're with the right person, that person creates a place of safety. And it's almost like all your worries evaporate. And it's the craziest feeling. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but it's super powerful because I get what you're saying.
You are spot on. That was exactly how it was when John and I got together. Though it's interesting, we knew each other before, and I literally had no feelings for him. And I tried to fix him up with one of my girlfriends, and she wasn't interested. And I was like, "Aren't you interested? He's a nice guy." And so it was only after I got my signs and messages to leave my marriage, then I got signs and and I also received this message from God that transformed my life. And it was about being blameless. But from there, I started getting even stronger messages. And then I was guided to be with him. 3 signs. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I gotta follow it. So anyway, when we were in the angel channeling, she said, we've been together many, many lifetimes, and I'd never pondered it before. And I was like, oh my gosh, everything makes sense because I did not.
Crazy.
It's like a veil is lifted. Like you, when you can see someone for the soul of who they are, you see their essence. You don't see their physicality. You see their essence, and you're operating on a different realm. And that's how are. And so when we went to this angel channel, it solidified all of this craziness that we had gone through.
But are we crazy?
Past
See,
year.
this is like crazy, that definition of crazy, right? Are we the sane ones and everybody else is crazy because they're blind? So you got to ask the question, right? Because as
That
you
is
start,
a good point.
kind of lifting the veils as you go through your path and your journey, all of a sudden you realize, God damn, I've been blind all these years.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because you see things from a whole different perspective. And that's how it was.
Okay.
So
That story could have been crazy story, man.
Tell us something about you that no one knows. I don't know. I'm kind of boring. 10 minutes later, check out
I
this
know.
craziness that happened in my life.
Well, it all feels normal to me, so it doesn't feel out there. Sorry.
But it's not about how you feel about it. It's when you tell the story, other people are like, holy shit, Amy. It's not about how you feel about it. Like, I have done some off the wall crazy shit that I think is like everyday normal. Like, anytime I go somewhere, I want to go where the locals go, eat with the locals, eat, and do something I've never done before. And like, so I've gone
Love
places
that.
and then gone skydiving. I've went to Key West and then gone snorkeling. I went to the pyramids. I went to a wedding in Egypt and then went to the pyramids. And like, people are like, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't know. That's just like how I operate. And to them, it's like so insane, so fanciful. They can't
Mind blown.
grasp.
Yeah.
They can't grasp
Yeah.
how I can just do it. Like, you met a dude, and then like 2 weeks later, you're at his wedding in Alexandria, Egypt, on the Med. I was like, yeah, isn't that how everyone else does it? He's like, my friend, you are hilarious. You should come to my wedding. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's in Alexandria. I was like, in Egypt? He's like, yes. Where's something nice? I go to Egypt for this wedding. Like, isn't that how everyone else does life?
Oh, I love that.
Life is an
love that.
adventure,
It
right?
is.
So
It is.
freaking jump on board and go for the freaking ride.
Yes, absolutely.
As we're
Well,
Well,
thank you
ready
for
to come
sharing
to-
that story because
Oh,
that
yeah.
was awesome.
Absolutely. As we're getting ready to wrap up here, Amy, give us some advice for anyone that might be listening in our audience that's struggling with maybe who they are or what they're going through right now. What advice would you give that person?
Well, I always say give compassion and grace to yourself. Remember, it's a temporary moment, and begin to do anything that elevates your vibrational state, your mood, whatever that is. The willingness to do something for yourself to feel better is your journey toward the opening and the receiving of what is in store for you. And so we have to learn how to get out of our own way. And it's everyday thing. There's no arrival. There's no destination. There's no, oh, I've got it all figured out. There is just each day managing your energy, managing your thoughts. But, getting into this receptive state where you're realizing you're not doing this world alone. And if you can listen to what feels good, what feels aligned, and follow that path, it will be an adventurous and fun and joyous experience. So that would be my advice.
It'd be pretty good advice. Carol often gets frustrated with that I become kind of a pain during some of these interviews, but I do it. If I was any part of a washing machine, I would be the agitator, because the clothes don't get clean without it, right? We can't get
True.
the guest to relax and then get the real stories unless there's some kind of agitation. Because like when we first started this interview, you were very straight and stiff. And straight faced, and I was like, oh my God, is this gonna work at all? And then
I know I could read your mind.
through a little agitation. Through a little agitation, we get you to loosen up, relax, and tell some amazing stories. So we really appreciate that.
Well, I love that. And I love that that you are the agitator and you are embracing that, because that's an important part in life. It's like that step one moment when you have the agitation and the contrast, it's an important piece. So love that. No, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun talking to you too.
Absolutely. If you could send people one place to find you, where would you send them?
Go to my website, amyanfinson.com.
Fantastic. Thanks again from Carol and myself for being our guest today, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.